All right, welcome everyone to the North Wasco County School District 21 regular school board meeting, Thursday, February 24th, 2022. Our first item tonight is to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if y'all can stand, unmute yourself, and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. First item now is review revision of the agenda. Does anyone have any revisions or adjustments? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed with the agenda as it was published. Next is the reading of our district mission and vision statement. Director Jones, could you do that for us tonight?
Mission statement: graduating all students to be college and career ready, challenging, inspiring, and empowering them to be healthy and productive citizens. Vision statement: North Wasco is a premier school district. We provide students a rigorous and relevant education, with schools performing academically in the top 5% of the nation. Our students are inspired by a talented, innovative, and highly effective staff that values continuous professional growth. Our district graduates citizens who are ethical and motivated to achieve their limitless potential. North Wasco is fully embraced by the community, reflecting its health and well-being.
All right, thank you for reading that. Next on our agenda is the student and staff recognition, and I think we're starting off with Mr. Brose tonight.
Good evening, Dr. Bernal. Good evening, directors. Thank you for asking me to join you this evening. I'm coming before you tonight to remember Mr. John Frederick. He served as a North Wasco County School Board member for 2 years. He passed away at the end of January this year. Mr. Frederick began his 50th season at the start of this basketball season, running scoreboard, doing PA work, those types of things. Mr. Frederick was the glue that held Riverhawk boosters together when they had lost their way post-merger. And he was absolutely about our kids, about our programs. And he continued that right up until the very end of his life. And he cared about this community so much. And he was such a big influence on me, and was so excited that this board and this school district family, he always called us our school district family, that we're moving forward in the right direction and starting to see some things that he had hoped to see for several years. And it means a great deal to me that he thought so highly of me and our kids. And I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak about Mr. Frederick and to remember his contributions to our children and our community. Thank you.
No, thank you for that, Mr. Brost. Yeah, I mean, condolences out to the Frederick family. I mean, I think you hit it. He was such a champion for our kids in athletics. I don't think there was a game I attended that I did not see him there working a scoreboard or announcing or something. And then, you know, what his involvement at KODL and broadcasting our kids' athletic events, I mean, is just above and beyond. I mean, I was thinking like 50 years. I mean, that's longer than I've been alive for me. I was just like, man, that's something I can only, you know, hope to aspire to. That's quite the bar that from a volunteer perspective that he set. Now I'm like eyeballing, you know, could I achieve that myself? But many thanks to Mr. Frederick. And again, condolences out to the Frederick family. We'll definitely be missing you at our events and athletic games. Any other, Director Rasmussen?
Yes, I would just want to note that we've definitely lost a pillar in our community and our school. So I am very sorry to hear about this passing, and my condolences to the family and to everybody who has worked directly with him.
Dr. Bernal?
Yeah, I would echo everything, and my condolences to the family. As you know, I've only been in the community about 8 months, but was very aware of his history with our district and how much hard work and dedication he did, all in the name of our kids, and especially our sports programs. And I actually had the opportunity to meet him personally, and was with him right before his passing on the radio, on the KOD radio show, and spent a good hour with him and really enjoyed my time getting to know him. So he definitely will be missed. And again, my condolences to the family.
Any other? Director Jones?
Yeah, same. Condolences to the family. I've spent many days at the softball fields during softball season and stuff, and every game, seeing him there, and just the passion he had. It was always the kids. So he's going to be missed, hard to replace.
Any other comments from the board? No. All right. Thanks again, Mr. Brost. And then next is recognition of our school counselors. Dr. Bernal, are you presenting that? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and we're going to invite our principals, I think, to each say a little bit about their school counselor, but I believe we have a slide. Let me see if, Robbie, do you have the slide? Present.
I think I'm missing that one.
Sorry about that. We had a slide with pictures of all of them, and so you can see them.
Cindy, do you have that?
Let's see if she'll share it. In the meantime, while we wait for that to get pulled up, I do want to say how grateful we are to our school counselors and their dedication to our kids and supporting them, not only academically, but social emotionally, each and every day. They do really great work in our schools, and that's why I invited each principal just to say just a few words about their school counselor. And then we also have certificates for them. And also we'd really like to thank Saldivar Insurance because they partnered with us and donated some gift cards for each of our school counselors. So excited about that. But I'll invite, while we get the picture going, let's start with, we can start with our elementaries. Mr. Rendell, would you like to say a few words about your school counselor?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I mean, everybody's been working incredibly hard the last 2 years, going through COVID and coming out of COVID. But the school counselors especially, and I think at Chenoweth, we really have a school counseling team with the counselor and the SELA. And they have a space that is just kind, safe, and comfortable for students to be in. And this year, coming back from COVID, I think they're interacting with students who sometimes have had zero school experience and are now in a 7th grader's body. And so that can be a real challenge. And they've been incredible at connecting families at our school with community-based supports. So for things above and beyond things that we're able to support here, just navigating that system, which can be a challenge for students. So I can't imagine doing my job this year without the support of our counselor and SELA. So.
Thank you, Mr. Rendell. How about, is Carol on with us? right? See her. Okay. How about Teresa for Dry Hollow?
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bernal, and good evening, board members. I am so grateful that we have Jacob Abrams, our child development specialist at Dry Hollow. He leads our social emotional team, our SELA team, and he does a wonderful job connecting with the kids. He also does a great job. He's in every classroom at least one time every week, teaching lessons for the kids around social emotional learning and problem solving skills. He also works with kids in small groups and then spearheads the supports for students throughout the day. We have numerous students that receive check-ins and they know that they can come down to room 8 to take a break whenever needed. And so he also is instrumental in facilitating our backpack program. So he makes sure that about 20 of our students every Friday take home a backpack of food. So he coordinates that with our local backpack program and goes and picks them up. And he even, I'm very grateful that he even takes the time to drop them off for kids who may be out ill, etc. So he drops those off so that the family and the student has those over the weekend. So I'm truly grateful that we have Mr. Abrams at our school supporting our kids and our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. How about the middle school, Sandy?
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having us. I want to thoroughly thank Jeff Carroll and Megan Dice as our child development specialist and counselor. This is Jeff's first year at the Dalles Middle School, although he has a lot of familiar faces as he has experience working with Center for Living. He's quite the advocate for our students and helping them grow into the middle school ages and stages of life, especially post-COVID. This is Megan's third year at the Dalles Middle School, and she came to us from Ohio, which I think she's got a friend at the high school from Ohio as well. But they're both supporting our Second Steps program, SEL lessons in our social studies classes once a week, and which is hugely supported and great support for our students and the lessons that they are provided. Megan is putting together Sister Squad, which is some girls groups that are putting together small groups of girls that come in and talk and just kind of meet and connect with each other and talk about some things that that is helping their social emotional health. And Jeff also is putting together groups, smaller groups of kids that they can readjust to each other and to that social life of middle school. So they are both great additions at the Dalles Middle School. And I just really appreciate everything that they do to support students and support staff with us. So thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. And the high school, Kurt.
Yeah, everybody hear me okay? It's hard for me to summarize everything of these three women in a short few statements, but what they contribute to the Dalles High School is just really immeasurable. I mean, they are fundamentally that our counseling department is just the backbone of this school. They not only support the students with planning for graduation, supporting them when they're falling off track and getting them on, they support them with their social emotional needs. They intervene with family, domestic issues and that sort of thing, but they also support our staff, as Sandy mentioned too, and that is really going above and beyond. And one of the things, for example, Clara and Raquel did this summer, they put on a QPR Institute, which is a suicide awareness, and they did that for our staff, and they led that development. Leanna's our veteran counselor. And I just can't say enough about them and what they mean to the school. And I'll just say that in this storm that we've all been in, they've been a support for me too, helping me to get through this each day. So can't say enough about them. Appreciate everything they do each day.
Thank you, Kurt. And I don't think Carol's here. Oh, she's here.
Yeah, she is.
I see her hand.
She did join.
Hey. All right, we'll go back to Colonel Wright. Carol, you're on.
So sorry, I was watching the non-speaking version of the YouTube channel. So I just, I echoing the other administrators, I cannot speak enough to what Cal brings to our school. He not only is a counselor for students, but for staff as well. And he has the entire picture that he knows is so important to bring that wholeness in order to grow as a staff together. He's an intense listener. He problem solves. He encourages students and staff. He's helped bring on a new piloting program called Frenzy with teachers the rest of the school year, so we can operate that and bring similar language throughout the school about things that we can talk about to bring a family sense to every classroom and to the school. And that's his heart. He says that when students leave the school, they don't stop being his kid, and he reaches out to ones who have even gone ahead. So that's the kind of influencer he is on our campus and in the community. And it has been wonderful to work with him the last few years.
Thank you, Carol. And just a huge thank you and shout out to our school counselors and their work every day. They do incredible work. I've seen many of them live in action, and their connection with our kids is pretty amazing to see. So kudos to all of them, and we really appreciate all of them.
Any thoughts or comments from the board? I guess I would just echo and say a huge thank you again to everyone. I mean, I think some of you have heard me mention this before, but you know, the old saying of it takes a village. I mean, you guys are part of that village and an important aspect of that village that provides a much needed and very valuable support for the kiddos in each of our buildings. So thank you. And also thank you to Saldivar Insurance, who's the sponsor for the gift cards that each of these counselors will be getting. So with that, we'll move on to our student representative reports, and we'll start with the Dallas High School and Sophie Lewis.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm from the Dallas High School. This is my report. March 11th, band has a competition at Mount Hood Community College. Our theater is planning for a spring musical with the choir and the band, and that's supposedly going to be in mid-April. The process of forecasting is going on right now for next year's classes. The counselors are very busy. I empathize with them. We are also planning a dodgeball tournament at the end of this trimester, and there will be a staff team if any of you want to participate in that. It'll be pretty fun. For athletics, our basketball team is going to state March 4th, and until then, the other games have been canceled. A couple people placed at swimming. Lydia De Janeiro with 4th in the 50-yard freestyle, and Michael Cole in 8th with the butterfly and 9th in 50-yard freestyle. The girls' medley relay broke records by 2 seconds. Congratulations. The boys' 200-yard freestyle relay took 9th, and the boys' 400 freestyle relay took 8th. Overall, the girls took 15th. For wrestling, 1 girl and 2 boys qualified for state. Maisie Bandel wrestled today, and Taylor and Styles are wrestling this weekend. The robotics team, there's 2 teams going to nationals in Iowa in late March, and the end of this trimester ends March 11th. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophie, and well done to all the Riverhawk athletes that are on to postseason competition. That's awesome. Next report is from the Dalles Middle School, Riley Elliott.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, awesome. Good evening. My name is Riley Elliott, and I'm very proud to represent the Dalles Middle School. I am TDMS's ASB Secretary. We are extremely excited to share our most recent activities with you all. Just Tuesday, we had our Twos Day. Many students grabbed a friend and were twinning. Of course, this was all in honor of 2-2-2-2 Day. Last night, the girls' basketball teams had a game. Now, 7th graders haven't won yet, but the 8th graders have won one game. I've just got to say that the 7th graders may not have won yet, but boy, are they still having a blast. Last night's final scores were 5-22 7th grade, 27 8th grade. The last games of the season will be in Corbett Monday. Wrestlers are finishing up their season too. The group we have right now has been working since they were 6th graders, and through all of the challenges, they have risen like champions, said their proud coach, Alexander Kramer. We had great participation when we did friendship grams. Students sent a little box of heart candies to their friends. We are currently doing a kindness challenge for February, or as we call it, our Pause Activity Month. For example, our challenge today was to make someone laugh. On behalf of TDMS, thank you for your time.
That's awesome. Thanks, Riley, for the update. Next, we'll go to Chenoweth Elementary, and that's a video. We'll hear from Cesar Alvarez and Hannah Pewitt.
Here to present the news are students from Miss Geary's 5th grade class. Aquí para presentar las noticias están los estudiantes de clase de 5º grado de la señora Geary. For the past 2 years, many students have been in and out of school because of COVID restrictions, quarantines, and distant learning. During this time, they did not have the time to work together constructively in large or small groups. Durante los últimos 2 años, muchos estudiantes han estado entrando y saliendo de la escuela debido a las restricciones de COVID, las cuarentenas y el aprendizaje a distancia. Durante este tiempo no han tenido tiempo para trabajar juntos de forma constructiva en grupos grandes o pequeños. Well, it turns out that kind communication and working together is a skill that disappears if it is not practiced. Because of this, the focus for Colonel Wright Elementary School is practice kindness and practice goodness. No one can learn if these basic principles are not followed from kindergarten to 5th grade. Pues bien, resulta que la comunicación amable y el trabajo en común es una habilidad que desaparece si no se practica. Por eso, el enfoque de la escuela primaria Colonel Wright es practicar la habilidad y practicar la bondad. Nadie puede aprender si estos principios básicos no son sólidos desde el kinder hasta el 5º grado. Miss Geary and Miss Brody's classes are starting an anti-bullying group that will meet during recess. They will be practice kindness and pointedly working on protecting students who have been a target. We are excited to see this group develop. Las clases de la señora Geary y la señora Brody están comenzando un grupo anti-bullying que se reunirá durante el recreo. Practicarán la habilidad y van a trabajar con los estudiantes que han sido un objetivo. Estamos muy contentos de ver el desarrollo de este grupo.
At least one class from each grade level will be working with a program called Frenzy that works to create classroom climates of acceptance of one another and communication skills.
Al menos una clase de cada nivel de grado estará trabajando con un programa llamado Frenzy, que trabajan para crear climas del salón de aceptación de unos a otros y habilidades de comunicación.
An effort to learn to connect and communicate kindly to one another, the 5th grade classes have created their own Valentine's message. Students have created large Valentines for staff in the school.
En un esfuerzo por aprender a conectarse y comunicarse amablemente entre sí, la clase de quinto grado ha creado sus propios mensajes de San Valentín. Los estudiantes han creado grandes tarjetas de San Valentín para el personal de la escuela.
Everyone to speak and act kindly to one another. We believe we can be the change that helps our school and community be a better place.
Pedimos a todos que hablen y actúen con amabilidad los unos con los otros. Creemos que podemos ser el cambio que ayuda a nuestra escuela y comunidad a ser un lugar mejor.
All right, thank you to the Colonel Wright students for that video. Next, we have our representative from Dry Hollow Elementary, Eleanor Young.
Members, I'm Eleanor Young, and I'm a 5th grader in Mr. Kaiser's class. Dry Hollow is buzzing with activity right now. Let me tell you all about it. Mr. Runyon organized some really fun Winter Olympic activities for each class. We had lots of fun speed skating and bobsledding. He's an incredible PE teacher. We recently showed our love for each other by sending out Valentine's cards to everyone. That was fun. Miss Haynes' class did a STEM project for Valentine's Day, where the kids had to invent a candy dispenser out of 2 toilet paper tubes, 1 foot of aluminum foil, and tape. They made some incredible designs that successfully dispensed candy. We have a fundraising drive going on to help raise money for children with cancer. It's called Pennies for Patients. So far, about $500 has been donated by our generous students, staff, and parents. The fundraiser ends on February 25th. Tuesday was also a lot of fun. We celebrated 2/22/22, buying tutus, ties, and other fun things. What were you doing at 2/22 on Tuesday, 2/22/22? Students are working each week to be the class that wins the golden shoe. This award goes to the class that goes down the hallways the quietest. Each week, the classes are nominated for the reward by the staff. We have tons of fun activities planned for Read Across America Day week, which is February 28th through March 4th. Miss Corey, once again, thank goodness for that talented lady, has been the organizer for this activity again this year. Our student council, under the guidance of Mrs. Cyphers and Miss Hollister, has chosen some pretty exciting activities for each day of the week. On Monday is PJs and Pals Day. Tuesday is Cat in the Hat and Fox and Socks Day. Wednesday is Character Con Day. Thursday is Who Hair or Lorax Mustache Day. And Friday is School Spirit Day. We are working really hard to be ready for state testing. Spring break is only a month away, and we are looking forward to it. That's what's happening around our neck of the woods. Come visit us at Dry Hollow. We love seeing board members and our superintendent in our school.
All right, thank you, Eleanor. And the breaking news from Channel 5. And our last update comes from Chenoweth Elementary School, and that's another video.
Good evening.
Buenas tardes. My name is Hannah Pewitt. Y mi nombre es Álvarez Saldaña. Our theme this month is mindfulness. We are practicing ways to be mindful and not mindful. Nuestro tema este mes es la atención plena. Estamos practicando formas de estar atentos y no mente llena. In kindergarten, many students are making into ABCs and 100s club. Way to go, kindergarten students. In kindergarten, muchos estudiantes se están convirtiendo en el club ABC y ciencias muy bien. In first grade, students in Miss Rafferty's class continues to read and perform poetry. En primer grado, los estudiantes de la clase de señora Rafferty continúan leyendo y presentando poesía.
Hurry, hurry, little penguin, playing in the snow. Will you come and play with me? I hope you won't say no. My name's Eleanor. My name's Mia. We're in Miss Rafferty's class.
In our dual language instruction class, also known as DLI, Master Susie celebrated with her students their bridge to bilingualism. Kindergarten students in Meister Yessie's DLI class and families of the first grade cohort attended to celebrate the accomplishments of the inspiring first graders. La instrucción del lenguaje dual, también conocida como DLI, la maestra Susie celebró con sus alumnos. Bilingüismo. Los estudiantes de jardín infantil en la clase DLI de Maestra Jessie y las familias del cohort de primer grado asistieron para celebrar los estudiantes increíbles de primer grado.
Qué bonito, ay, qué bonito es aprender los dos idiomas, español y inglés.
In second grade, students are working on writing options about their favorite food and drinks. They are also focusing on social and emotional learning. En segundo grado, los estudiantes están trabajando en escribir opiniones sobre sus comidas y bebidas favoritas. También se están enfocando en el aprendizaje social y emocional. In third grade, students are practicing multiplication facts and strategies. They've also been working on collaborative art project to celebrate Black History Month. En tercer grado, los estudiantes están practicando estrategias de multiplicación. También han estado trabajando en los proyectos colaborativos para celebrar el mes de la historia negra. In fourth grade, students are writing biographies about African American people and history for Black History Month. En cuarto grado, los estudiantes están escribiendo biografías sobre personas afroamericanas importantes en la historia para el mes de la historia negra. In fifth grade, we are working on biographies about famous people and, as always, completing cool art projects. En quinto grado estamos trabajando en biografías de personas famosas y, como siempre, complementos proyectos de arte geniales. We also had this fun project this month called This is What Love Looks Like at Chenoweth Elementary School. Students decorated hearts with words, pictures, and drawings of what love means to them and displayed them at local businesses around the Dow. Hicimos un proyecto divertido. Este mes llamamos así como se ve el amor en la escuela primaria. Chenoweth, los estudiantes decoraron corazones con palabras imaginativas y dibujos de los que significa el amor para ellos y los exhibieron en lógicos locales alrededor de The Dalles. Thank you for your time. This is all from Chenoweth. Gracias por tu tiempo. Este es todo el mes de Chenoweth.
Awesome. That concludes our student reports for tonight. Next on the agenda is comments from the audience about non-agenda items or public comments section. And Cindy, did anyone sign up to speak tonight?
No.
No. Okay. We did, however, receive 8 comments via email. So that's been distributed to all the board members. And the full text will be in our meeting minutes. In brief, we heard from Paul Ashton from Kaiser asking us to not adopt policy KGBB. Eric Wright as well expressed his opinion to not adopt policy KGBB. Sam Akers similarly spoke on the same topic. Gary Weiss as well from Dallas, Oregon, same, asking to not adopt policy KGBB. And then Randy St. Marie, again, same, asking to not adopt that policy. Terry Smith as well, same thing. Ronald Stegall, again, also asking us not to adopt that policy KGBB. And then lastly, we heard from Robert Schwartz, and that was a variety of items from curriculum to some of the COVID items. So again, the full text of those will be in our meeting minutes. Next, we move on to our consent agenda. This month that includes our meeting minutes from our PLT meeting on January 12th, has our minutes from our January 20th board meeting, has an updated personnel report. And then we also have, as we do every year, the contract renewals for our licensed staff, and that would be for the 2022-2023 school year. Any comments or around any of those consent agenda items? If not, I will entertain a motion. Director Nelson?
I just want to clarify, was Brian at the PLT meeting? Was he in attendance on that? I thought he was, and I don't think he's on the list as being in attendance at the top of the page of the minutes.
I kind of remember the same as well. So I guess we'll make that modification just to note his attendance on that January 12th meeting. Good catch, John.
Yeah.
Any other comments or? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Well, with the modification on the January 12th meeting minutes. Director
Wait a
Nelson?
minute. Which Brian?
Stevens.
Right, Brian Stevens wasn't there.
You sure?
Yeah, he was not present for the
Okay.
PLT meeting. That's accurate.
Okay. That's what I was checking.
All right. Thanks for the clarification, Cindy.
So I'll make a motion.
Okay.
So I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, do I have a second? Director Jones. All right, so I've got a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by Director Nelson, seconded by Director Jones. Any further discussion? If not seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Director Rasmussen?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Stevens?
Aye.
And Director Richardson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. All right, so next is the review of our board action calendar. And so you'll notice we kind of updated, we hadn't kind of weaved in the time timing of the evaluation of the superintendent. So that's the red, that was just kind of some of the adjustments. And looking ahead, we are going to be starting it earlier next year. So we're kind of, so you'll see a change, I guess, in the calendar for next year, where we will have the start in January as opposed to February. And so kind of the thought behind that is that similarly to how we do the contract renewals for all our licensed staff, we kind of want to be wrapped up with the superintendent evaluation to coincide with that as well. So that's kind of the thought process there behind the timing. Other than that, no change. Well, I take that back. The other change you'll see in March, typically this month of February is when we review and adopt the upcoming school calendar. This year we've moved it to March, and part of that is we're looking to, instead of how we normally have done a singular calendar year, we're going to look to do a 3-year school calendar year. So that'll give a lot more definition for families in terms of planning, trips and just planning in general. It just, with looking ahead to the 3-year, it's just going to take a little more time to develop internally with Dr. Bernal and the staff and get all the input on a 3-year plan versus a 1. So any questions regarding kind of those adjustments to our February and March calendar? Okay. All right. That leads us into our school board subcommittee reports, starting off with the community outreach team. And Director Stevens, any update?
Yes, we had our meeting and we discussed what it is that we need done at the school, which is facilities, and then a new school bond. And then there was discussion of who to select to go to DC, and that covers it.
All right, thanks for the update, Director Stevens. Next is update from the Wellness Committee, Director Richardson.
Thank you, Chair Parisio. So the Wellness Committee met earlier in January. They're waiting on survey results to set the framework and the design for the wellness program moving forward after the grant. The next meeting is pending some committee scheduling challenges that CAR has had to work that out, but I hope that will happen hopefully in March. Along those lines, the ESD School Health Advisory Committee also met, and I attended that meeting on February 16th. It's a quarterly meeting that looks at the ESD school health efforts across all of the districts. They have some grant funding available for development of school health services, and this will give us some support looking long-term for planning and alignment with our district strategic planning. So I'm super hopeful that those will align and build together moving forward. That's pretty much it for school health.
All right, thank you. Next is an update on the building facilities. Director Jones, any updates there?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Next is the Equity Committee and Director Rasmussen, any updates?
Yep, we had our meeting on February 3rd, and one thing that they mentioned is that they want the committee to be prepared to answer any questions that the board might have about equity. So they're talking about that. We had a presentation by Scott Whitbeck, who's the District 21 Director of School Improvement, and he gave us an update on the ELA adoption process, which is the English Language Arts adoption process. And he noted that they were going through all of the different curriculum options. Not all options were centered on equity. So he kind of gave us an overview about how the process, how the vetting process is going, and to make sure that equity, inclusion, and cultural relevance could be incorporated into the selection process. And they are going to be coming to us probably in April 28th. With the proposed curriculum to be adopted. So we had that update from him. Then we met Kim, and I'm going to try to say it, Chenoweth. Hopefully I said it right. I apologize if I didn't. She's dynamic, and she actually shared a book she had written about inclusion and equity and diversity, which was great. And also, they've been working on the equity staff survey as well. Our next meeting will be Thursday, March 3rd at 4 p.m. And that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. Next is the Wasco County Forest Collaborative, Director Nelson.
Thank you, Chair Alberto. Yeah, we do have news here to report. Last time I reported, I mentioned that something was going to happen, and now it has happened. We're proud to announce that partners in the Wasco County Forest Collaborative recently were rewarded a $1.2 million grant focused on forest resilience and wildfire risk reduction. So the project will result in more than 3,000 acres of treatment across federal, state, and private lands. The treatments will include non-commercial fuel reduction, prescribed burning, and invasive species treatment, as well as road improvement activities. East Cascade Oak Partnership will install monitoring plots to evaluate pre and post implementation conditions with a focus on the Oregon white oak habitat. We have convened with them often now. They're part of our team. And so we're taking a look at another species which hasn't really been studied or looked at very much, the white oaks. Those are the trees that are left up at cirrhosis, in case you're wondering what oaks I'm talking about. So anyway, a lot of exciting stuff, and that's really happened because of the Forest Collaborative, which has been in existence now for 6 or 7 years. I think that's all I have to report, except that our next meeting, and all of our meetings are always on the first Thursday of every month.
All right, thank you for that update. And our last one comes from OSBA Legislative Policy Committee. And before Director Richardson says, I just want to kind of say that this is newer on our committee reports, and Director Richardson actually got elected to this through OSBA. So that election took place at the end of this last year, so at the end of 21. And so that is a position that gets voted on by all, or not all, excuse me. The Gorge region votes on whom would be the Legislative Policy Committee representative. So in our case, Director Richardson was selected and voted on by the other school district board. So congrats first off to Director Richardson, and then I'll let you go on your update because we are in the short session. So there's a lot of activity.
Thank you, Chair Aparicio, and I want to personally thank you for your mentorship in blazing the trail ahead of me and helping me learn what this role entails. Yeah, the legislative short session they're in session now, and boy howdy am I learning a lot about Oregon legislature. The LPC met on February 5th to begin discussion about our legislative priorities for 2023-24 and connecting with the legislators after this current short session is over. If you want to know what the current LPC priorities are, that can be found on the OSBA website under the LPC. We're meeting together, hopefully in person, April 22nd and 23rd to decide on those priorities. The most remarkable thing about that meeting was, even though we are school board members from across the state, we have so many things in common, similar struggles, all of us do. So the legislative short session, as Jose mentioned, is ongoing. As far as the current bills impacting school, there are 4 big ones that the OSBA has prioritized. 3 have gone to the Joint Committee on Ways and Means and will likely be endorsed by the legislature as part of the end of session spending bill package. And these include, and probably all 4, these include House Bill 4026, and that's about wildfire affected school district support. So those districts that were affected by wildfire and lost significant enrollment, and then had the added impact of trying to support those kids. They're getting some grants. House Bill 4029 regarding school board training and assessment, that involves us. It requires school board directors to conduct a self-assessment every 2 years and sets up an educational advisory group to assess those results and make recommendations. Provides us some educational resources as well, so that's pretty exciting. Senate Bill 1546 is the sale of the Elliott Forest out of the Common School Fund. It's at Ways and Means this evening under discussion. And Senate Bill 1521 is about school board leadership continuity. So superintendent job security, you can't dismiss your superintendent for obeying the law. Who knew we needed a bill to talk about that? It's pending a second reading and minority report, but they anticipate a third reading tomorrow. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that update. So next we'll move on to our new business, starting with presentations and
Jose?
reports. Yes.
I think we missed the scholarship committee.
You're correct. I didn't get listed. Go ahead, Director Stevens. Give us an update,
So
please.
Yes, so we met and the meeting went really well. The group was able to allocate and reallocate some monies to grow all of the scholarships exponentially. And so with that, they decided that instead of the like $500 scholarships that we are in control of, we were able to balloon, I think most all, if not all of those, to 1,000 or more. Some of them in the amounts of 2,500 and a few in the amounts of 5,000. And some of them will be recurring 4 years. So they'll go year to year to year to year up to 4 years for those students. So that ends up being, I think, $20,000 for 4 years. So that's the update from our meeting.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad we didn't miss that, because that's very cool to hear that our students will have some larger scholarships available to them. So awesome. So now we'll head into our new business and start off with our presentations and reports. First one tonight is our Safe Routes to School report. And we're having Katie Sellen and Philip Longnecker from Alta Plumbing join us to brief us on the report that they've put together.
Hello, good evening. It's actually just one of us tonight. Hello, my name is Katie Celine. I'm a planner at Alta Planning and Design. We are a transportation planning, design, and engineering firm in Portland, and it has been our pleasure to work with the district folks at the city, Mid-Columbia Economic District in Wasco County over the past, I think it's been a full year we've been working on this. So I'm very pleased to be here tonight and give you guys a little overview of what we've been working on. We are nearing the end of our work on the plan and currently have a draft circulating for public comment. So this is a perfect moment to be here and get some feedback from you all as well. Is it all right if I share my screen? I have just a couple of pages from the plan pulled up as a visual. So as you may know, for this effort, we focused on Chenoweth Elementary School and Colonel Wright. And this is all a part of the Oregon Department of Transportation's Safe Routes to School Planning Assistance Program. So Dalles and North Wasco County School District are a part of kind of a cohort of other communities doing similar projects. And the idea is that these Safe Routes to School plans identify projects and programs to make it safer and more accessible for students and families to walk, bike, and take transit. And really specifically, they feed into grants that the state has available for funding construction projects and education and engagement around Safe Routes to School. And so this work basically identifies projects that can be pulled right into those grant applications. And this is well timed as well. Those grants are open now and that's a part of what we've been working with both the city and district on prepping for those over the past couple of weeks and months. Then, so the scope of this plan, as I mentioned, we focused on Chenoweth and Colonel Wright, and we were able to look at streets within a 1/4 mile radius of each school in great detail, and then kind of key locations up to a mile from each school. And yeah, and I'll just give a little overview of the process that we've been through up until this point. We kicked off our work last winter, looked at a lot of the existing planning documents and previous work that the district and schools have done around safe routes to school, such as the Blue Zones projects, and that's all documented in our plan, and we've really tried to incorporate a lot of that context and build upon it. So that was last winter, kind of into the spring. We then did a couple rounds of trying to plan in-person walk audits and canceling them due to COVID. So a little bit of a delay there, kind of spring into summer, but then we were really pleased to get a kind of a COVID window to come out and do our walk audits and facility inventory this fall. It was in November at each school. And we came out and got to meet with everyone on the project management team and observe student arrival and dismissal, and really get a good sense of what the challenges are, how are students currently using the existing facilities. We were able to talk to some parents who are kind of waiting to pick up or drop off students and get some quick feedback that way. And then we also had an online public input map that was circulated by each school in the district and city to try to hear from as many parents as we could that way. And then since then, we've been putting together the plan of different variations of all the recommendations that you see in there tonight, and make sure that everyone is, okay with what we've come up with, and leading up to now having our draft ready to circulate back to the school communities, to you all, and get some additional feedback and make sure we're on the right track. And then we're hoping to wrap up the final plan here in the next month after we do this round of engagement and review. And I'm happy to pause there for any process questions, and next I can give a quick overview of some of the recommendations we came up with.
Any initial questions from the board? No? Okay.
Great. Yeah, so starting with Chenoweth Elementary School. The area around Chenoweth has obviously some very fast roads and extremely limited bike and pedestrian facilities. Despite those challenges, during the walk audit, we definitely saw many students walking and biking already, getting home from school, parents walking to pick up students walking in groups to many of the surrounding, apartment complexes, and to get home from bus drop off at the Wetumpka campus, heading up Chenoweth Road, heading down 10th Street, down to 7th, and down 7th this way. Just a lot of foot traffic and a few students biking. And So we've got a variety of different types of construction recommendations that we've come up with. And all of these, again, designed to make it safer for students to walk and bike in the area. We've got sidewalk recommendations, bike lanes, crossing improvements, pedestrian activated flashing beacon, and signage updates. And you can see on the map here, the street improvements are kind of like linear facilities. The circles are crossing improvements. We have a couple of kind of off-street improvements, trailer path, and the numbers correspond to in the plan. There's a ton of detail about what each individual recommendation is for each location. And some of the top priorities that emerged here were on 10th Street, going up Chenoweth Loop Road, and 7th Street were what we heard from parents, talking to the principal, folks at the city, and our observations of what opportunities to build on existing infrastructure or where the most unsafe locations are. And then for Colonel Wright Elementary, of course, Colonel Wright, the neighborhood that Colonel Wright is situated in has a much more complete sidewalk network, just kind of an older neighborhood there. Again, many students are already walking and biking. There's already many more existing facilities for them to use. Our recommendations here focus on improvements for some key crossings, a little bit of sidewalk infill, but it's more like filling some gaps instead of, you know, whole streets. And then a lot of the kind of linear street improvements here are recommendations for neighborhood greenway facilities and bike lanes to try to improve the connectivity and options for students biking. And here, the kind of top improvements that emerged were on 10th, just looking at improving some of the crossings here and adding bike lanes, recommendation for that, and improved lighting. And then also on Trevitt, we've been working a little bit with the school trying to help with some of the circulation challenges and kind of student drop off and pick up traffic patterns there. And then for the education and encouragement recommendations, this is more the like programmatic side of Safe Routes to School. The big one is really to apply for the state's education grant. And the big thing that can fund is a Safe Routes to School coordinator position, which would really add the capacity to do a lot of this other work and support some of the interest from each school in moving the stuff forward. So that's the biggest one, but then also pedestrian and bike safety education, walking school bus and bike trains, participating in walk and roll to school days, community school safety campaign, like sharing information about how to safely walk and bike and safely drive with parents, and Safe Routes to School demonstration projects, which is kind of opportunities to try out some of the infrastructure ideas in more of a short-term way and have like as a part of a walk and roll to school day or something along those lines. And then just a couple of next steps and wrap up, and happy to answer any questions. As I mentioned, we have our public review draft is live through March 11th. Please use that to send us any like really specific comments that you might have, or I'm also happy to chat, or if you want to mark up a printed copy, that works too. Each school is planning to organize an event and invite parents to attend and learn more about what's in here, give comments that way. Then the final plan, we're hoping to have it wrapped up by mid-March next month. And as I mentioned, the grant applications are live through March 18th. And that's like a phase 1 kind of like intro piece for the construction grant, and then the education grant as well. And I should have mentioned the draft plan is available with a kind of summary translated into Spanish too. So there's links to both available. And I'll stop there. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Director Nelson?
I don't have a question, but I was part of this process several years ago when it was just getting off the ground. And I remember, we made immediate corrections to drop off and pick up at Dry Hollow, that whole thing. And we came up with a solution and a demonstration. It still hasn't been finished. And then the parking lot arrangements, I think, have been changed twice at Chenoweth for the confusion around entering and exiting that parking area. But the comprehensiveness of where you've gone from there, the ability now to secure grants and get funding, and the coordination with Public Works and the city is just awesome how far that has come, because what I'm hoping for in the future is a lot of energy put into construction grants, which is down the line 3 years at least. But the sidewalks in the Dalles, especially on the west end of town, are non-existent or piecemeal or dangerous. Same thing on Trevitt. It's very awkward to walk on those sidewalks. A lot of stumbling places and steep curbs that little kids have a hard time negotiating. So all of that work, it's awesome that you're involved in it, and that the schools have a deeper connection, and we're actually looking for a position to focus on that. That's it.
Any other questions or comments, Director Richardson?
Thank you. Yes, like John, I was part of those walkability studies in the west end of town. And I remember almost getting hit by a car just doing the audit and thinking, oh my goodness, a person half my size wouldn't be seen by cars. So thank you for this. And I echo with him. I'd like to see the traction and then the deliverables, down the road as well. I really appreciate the programmatic components and the education piece as well. It seems to make it a holistic piece, not only the built environment, which is so important in health and wellness of our community, but also the teaching piece of it. I'm wondering if there's also a component to help teenage drivers, which I was one once, but yeah, it's kind of scary sometimes crossing the road in front of the high school.
That's definitely something you could build into a coordinator position. They actually just updated the grant parameters to really be able to include high school focused education. So it's a great idea.
Any other questions, comments from other board? All right, I guess I'll just echo the same thing. It's exciting to see this. I mean, logistically, our sites are a challenge, especially Colonel Wright and Chenoweth. So finding solutions that can improve the queuing at pickup and drop off is instrumental, and just helps the overall community. So thank you for your work, Ms. Seelan. That's awesome. And hopefully we can get some of these grants to start some of those infrastructure projects.
I hope so too. I think that the Dalles will be a very competitive applicant, and yeah, I I hope so too. It's been a real pleasure to see all the collaboration between schools and district and the city, and it's really been fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, our next report comes from the Dallas High School, Mr. Evans.
Hi, everyone. Tonight, what I was going to focus on, rather than present some of the things that we've done in the past where they're large bits of data and so to speak, I wanted to kind of get underneath one of the processes that we do here at the high school. It does result in a good piece of data, but it's not an accidental outcome, I guess. There's a lot of people behind it and a lot of people that support it. And what this is, what I'm going to be talking about tonight, and I've invited some of my staff to talk specifically about it. It's the process of how we identify, recruit, and then support students that may have been overlooked to take an advanced course. And if you look nationwide and even statewide, you see a great deal of underrepresentation, specifically with students and minorities, in advanced coursework at high schools. And advanced courses are any course that would lead to a college credit. So that would just be like a College Now course or an AP or advanced placement course. And we have both of those here. So I'll make reference. I can just share my screen. It'd probably be the easiest way to do it if that's okay. I'm just going to present one graphic tonight. So there's an article that came out on the 4th of February in the Oregonian, and the title of the article is Left Behind, Low Expectations, Lackluster Education for High School Students of Color in Portland Spans Decades. And so in this article, it references the underrepresentation of students of color in their advanced courses in Portland Public Schools. And so in this article, it refers to 17% of that school district is Latino, for example. And only 8% of the enrollment in advanced courses is Latino. So it's less than half. A piece of data that I've shared before is in our school, the Dallas High School, 39% of our students are Latino. And as of the 14th, when I pulled this information, 36% of the enrollment in our advanced courses were Latino students. And that includes courses all across language arts, social studies, math, and science primarily. I'm not including CTE courses that lead to college credit, but some can. So we have historically here, this began probably about 10 years ago, the work in this. We began about 10 years ago. It was called an Equal Opportunity Grant. And it was Nick Nelson was the principal at that time. And I was a vice principal, and we worked to better balance because we kind of had the same, we looked like Portland Public and the rest of the nation probably at that time. And so for the last 10 years or so, we've worked very intentionally to balance that. So what I wanted to do, and I invited a few staff to talk tonight about the process of doing that. It's not, it takes a lot more staff are involved in it that are going to talk tonight. But the counselors, freshmen, teachers, everybody, but I wanted them to just touch on it a little bit and speak just a few minutes on how they take part in this. So there'll be a few teachers that'll speak, a Juntos coordinator and our Aspire coordinator, and just their specific piece of that process, okay? So I'll turn it over to, the first one I don't see her is Mary Jo Comerford. So she's one of our teachers. She's an advanced placement teacher. So I'll let her launch into this. So go ahead, Mary Jo.
Hello, good evening. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
You're fine.
Okay, great. Hi, thanks for having us here. I think one of the things that's so exciting is to be able to so directly talk to our mission statement, which is graduating students to be college and career ready. what Kurt said is true, that we really began with a lot of intentionality. I was part of that opportunity grant almost 10 years ago, and we looked at our statistics around the school. And then we really started active recruitment. And we did a variety of things at first, trying to identify students who might be willing to take AP. And it's really grown over time. We have doubled our AP program in the last 10 years. And I think one of the things that you're going to see is you are going to see just what a team effort it is. And we're going to hear a little bit from Jill Pearson and Colby, who also are AP teachers. I think the biggest thing that we do, and we joke a little bit, and that is we literally sniff students out. We try to identify any possible student we can that might be a candidate. And we recruit, I've recruited in nail parlors, grocery stores, hallways, church rooms, and it's really built up over time. And the beauty of a small community is that students start telling each other. And one of the things that students will come to me and say, you know, I know so-and-so should really be in an AP class. And I'll invite those kids in and I'll say, do you have another friend? And it builds up over time. But it also builds up with intentionality of our of the classes. Other teachers give it to us, counselors, any way that we can. And really, I think the most important thing that we do is we demystify advanced courses. When you talk to a Latinx kid who maybe has never taken an AP course, the first thing they'll say is, I was afraid to, or I'm too scared to take AP. And one of the things that we really try to do is to kind of take that fear factor away and create an environment that is warm and engaging. And hi, Jill, I see you. I don't know why I don't see me, but I see you.
I thought, sorry.
So I'm going to turn it over to Jill to talk a little bit about our recruitment.
Yeah, well, what can I say? Mary Jo, I learned from the best. I'm also a product of the AP program at the Dalles when it used to be a lot smaller. And I will say, like, as a college student and as an adult, there is something very satisfying about knowing it's like you never lose the ability to write well, whether that's an email or communicating otherwise. And so I can promote like that aspect of things myself. Like I found it beneficial for my own communication. And Mary Jo is probably a little bit more bold than me. But Colby and I have the advantage that we're also coaches. And Mary Jo, like you count as a coach too. Like you don't have an athletic sport, but you have like that mentality of like, ooh, like how do I take this student and like help them reach their fullest potential? So the fact that we get to engage with students in other places definitely helps. I also, most of my course load is regular US history. And so I've had a couple that have repeated. They've done regular US history and I put the bug in their ear for like, do AP US history. You already know a fair amount of the content. So there's some of the fear that goes away there. They're more familiar. But you get to spend more time on it. And to be honest, because people like elect to be in the class, like you get to have more fun, which is kind of a cool way to say that it's like, yeah, more work, but it's also a much happier payoff too. So, and like Mary Jo said, having strong relationships with the students and then the students with each other, they do some of our best recruitment, honestly, for like, hey, drag your friend along. Was just talking with a student my 5th period yesterday, and she's like, oh, I kind of want to take this honors version. She's like, or should I take AP? I'm like, you should take AP. And kind of what we end up looking for, kind of regardless of grades, is the students with the strong work ethics. Regardless of how that's shown up or not shown up in a letter grade before, we ask their freshman teachers, sophomore teachers, or when I have them, like, what's the student that's like just willing to put in work because they tend to do pretty well. And then Colby's going to talk about how we structure our classes and scaffold so that all of these students are successful.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, I'm Colby Ton, and I teach AP World at the high school. Like Jill said, we do, and Mary Jo, that we do a lot of scaffolding and support for the students. One of it is the first thing that can be overwhelming is the rubric, because there's 6 and 7 points and can be overwhelming. So what we do as a whole is chunk it and maybe just work on the first 3 points, thesis, contextualization, and description, up until winter break. And so we really break it down that way. Also, I think one thing that helps is we're working on improvement. So you're not just trying to get like a final score on a 7, but if you're a 0 at the beginning, okay, now let's work on getting a 1. And we need to get a 1 and you understand that, okay, now let's build on it. So it's not just like comparing. Some students compare to others, but I always have them compare to themselves. Are you going to be a better writer? Are you going to understand it more than you did at the beginning of the year? With that, we all have rewrites, so they get to write everything at least twice. The first one is turned in, and then we all grade it and we hand it back, and then they have to make revisions, and then that's what goes in the grade book. So everything's written twice at least. With that being said, they can write more than twice. So if they really want to work on it, they can meet with Jill, Mary Jo, or myself, and then we can focus on a certain point. Like, oh, I really thought I got pieces on this, but I keep missing it. Then we just break down that one point, and they can continue to rewrite as many as they want, as long as they meet with Jill, Mary Jo, or myself, because what we want them to do is learn it and understand. So the more that they want to put in the effort, the more it'll pay off for them. So that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Colby and Mary Jo and Jill. And then we have a couple of program coordinators. Mary Jo, were you finished, or do you want me to nurse next too, or were you going to do that? I forgot the next part in this.
I think Andrea and Elaine are there, correct?
Yep.
So one of the things we do is coordinate with the other programs going on at the high school. And one is our Aspire program and our Juntos program. And I think we have Andrea.
Yeah.
Are you there?
We have them both, Mary Jo. Yep.
Okay, great. So Andrea Flores is our Juntos coordinator par excellence, and she's going to explain that program.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea Flores Reina, and I work for Oregon State University Extension Service here in Wasco and Hood River counties as the Juntos program coordinator. For those of you that don't know what the Juntos program is, it means together in Spanish. And this program is designed to provide Latino students and their families with knowledge, skills, and resources to prevent youth from dropping out of high school, and also empower them to pursue post-secondary pathways. We focus on youth from 8th to 12th grade, and these are a few ways that I'd like to highlight that the Juntos program plays a role in encouraging students to take AP courses. During our Juntos middle school workshop, which is typically 5 sessions, there is a session called Secundaria a Preparatoria, meaning middle school to high school. And this is where we highlight the importance of being involved in high school and taking rigorous courses such as AP and how it prepares youth for college. This is one of my favorite sessions, and it is awesome to see students that actually take the knowledge from the sessions and apply it. Sometimes the sessions may be overwhelming, but it's awesome to see that a student actually took this information and is now attending a prestigious school, Harvard. You probably already know the student, but Yair Santillan said and expressed in many articles that the Juntos program introduced him the value of AP. This is one of many success stories. There are more, but I know with our time being, I can't highlight every student. I will say that one of the biggest magic things that happen is peer-to-peer influence. And it is a trend that I am seeing in the Dallas High School Juntos Club, where upperclassmen serve as mentors to lowerclassmen. They're encouraging their peers to take AP courses and be involved in Aspire. That way they have a pathway they're ready to go for college. And also one of the biggest key gatekeepers is Miss Comerford. I really appreciate her because she's always coming to our Juntos Club meetings. She's highlighting the AP courses to students, and she's encouraging to challenge themselves. The personal invitation is just a key factor. And I see students gain confidence in themselves. And they often tell me, Andrea, I must be really smart because Miss Comerford's coming to me and she's inviting me to take AP. So with that being said, I'll pass the baton on to Elaine Powery. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us present tonight. I'm actually coming to you from Eugene this evening, and this is perfect timing because I'm on an advisory board for the University of Oregon, and tomorrow the focus of our board meeting is access, equity, and support for underrepresented students. So I'm going to be able to share with them that I was able to share with you this evening. So I am the Aspire coordinator at the high school, and Aspire is the state of Oregon's mentoring program to help students access education and training beyond high school. And we match trained, supportive adult volunteer mentors with high school students to help them develop their own personal plan for their future career and educational goals. So we help students find programs of study and the schools that offer those. Whatever education they're pursuing after high school, whether it be community college, four-year college or university, the trades, the military, whatever it might be, we are here to help them. And we assist with their applications, essays, financial aid applications, scholarship applications, pretty much A to Z, everything they need to go on after high school. One of the, among many concepts we work with students, one of the most important concepts we introduce to students starting early in their high school career is the importance of challenging themselves to take the most rigorous curriculum that they can handle well. Colleges and universities are looking for students to pursue challenging classes from 9th grade all the way through high school graduation. Now, if I could just take one example and point to one thing that I think the Dalles High School does extremely well, and I might say it's not necessarily found at other high schools, is the collaboration that we have between our teachers, our counselors, juntos, migrant ed, AVID, Aspire. We are all there to work together and support each other. We really work as a team to connect with students. Honestly, I can't tell you the number of times that a teacher or a school counselor, or maybe it's Andrea or Robert Salazar, will walk a student into my room to introduce them to me and to the Aspire program. And likewise, I get the opportunity when a student comes along that really jumps out at me, I get to walk them down to meet perhaps an AP teacher that can help them. And just a quick example, because ironically, this literally happened yesterday. I read an essay that a student wrote for a junior scholars program at a very selective private college. And I read the essay that they wrote for their application, and I was so impressed with it. The student has a very high GPA, yet had never taken an AP class. So what I did is we walked down to Mary Jo Comerford's room, and I introduced the student to Mary Jo, and she just sat there and chatted and gave all the explanation of what her classes were all about, what the requirements, what the expectations were. And she just made the student feel so welcomed and encouraged. And I think gave the student the confidence to go ahead and hopefully register for one or maybe a couple of her classes next year. So that's really the little bit that I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine. And thanks everyone for presenting tonight. The challenge for everybody tonight is I had to give people a time limit because I know we could present for a lot longer than 15 minutes on every one of these programs. But I will say I say this a lot in parent meetings, the why on why do we offer college level courses? I mean, there's multiple reasons. The carrot for the student is the college credit. For us, it raises the rigor of the class. It puts in a work ethic that they often don't get. So when they do go on to college, even from my own children's experience, becomes very easy, or it's much less pressure than even what they experienced in high school. So if they get through these at high school, college is in some ways a breeze. So, and I will say, anytime you guys read your mission statement, the word that I focus on is the second word, and it's just a 3-letter word, and it's the all. It's graduating all students. And that's an important word because it takes a lot of work to meet that definition there. We could just say graduating students, but we don't. We say graduating all students. And so this is part of that process. we'll end the presentation if there's any questions, but my hope is that you kind of walk away with a little better understanding of how we go about that.
Thank you for that, Mr. Evans and staff. Super enlightening. Any questions, comments from board members? I guess I learned Ms. Comerford is basically the glue, as I understood it. But in all seriousness, thank you, everyone. That's awesome to see. It's great to see that we are reaching students that may not, initially be, on track to go into an AP course, but, giving them that extra nudge, that encouragement, and more importantly, the support to be successful in this class. That's awesome to see, and much appreciated.
Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, our next report is on the educational success and innovative programs. So it's an update from Ms. Tiskewicz.
No.
Are you there, Kim?
Guess while we get audio situated, Dr. Bernal, why don't you introduce Ms. Tiskewicz? She is new to us, and maybe just give a quick primer on her new role.
Yeah, Dr. Tiskewicz has been with us for, I think she's on her 3rd week with us, and she certainly has gotten right to work with helping us really begin to think about and design how we look at pathway programming for schools and what that looks like in the K-12 setting. And so we've been working together and with other members of our cabinet, and she's already had a community forum to get input. And so we're really excited for what all of this work will bring in the 22-23 school year. And so I asked her to give a brief presentation, just very brief overview of what she's been working on, because I know we're time crunched. So Kim, you're on, and I would say try to be brief.
I will be as brief as I can. Just for those of you who struggle with my last name, I have students call me TZ because that's easy. So the kids call me Dr. TZ or TZ, and please call me Kim. I've been here for 4 weeks. And I'm sorry, my computer seems to have a little lag. So if you need me to repeat, just let me know. I've been here for 4 weeks, and she said, I've had a community forum. I have visited all of the schools and Norcor. I've been out multiple times actually to Norcor and Riverbend. I've gotten to know some parents and students. I was given my first present from students, which was a Nerf sword with signature of all the students from the play they recently put on out at Riverbend. And that was really fun. But we started with, I just got my brain wrapped around the Alternative Learning Center, the Virtual Academy, the Acellus program as it's going, Riverbend, Norcor, and then all of the different programs that are offered in the district that might coordinate together. And my job is to bring them into one big home, one school, if you will. We'll give it a name someday, but at the moment it's just kind of this collection of programs, and we're coordinating staff, we're coordinating programs, we're looking at resources. The Wetumpka campus, I've been working there with all of the programs that are there. I went and visited an AVID class at the Dalles High School the other day, and I do have to just give my kudos to the Dalles High School. And as a parent of a student who took 24 credits with him from high school into college, I'm very grateful in my pocketbook. So I think it's wonderful that the Dalles High School has those options as well for the students. It does help. I worked with the Equity Committee and met Ms. Rasmussen. I met Mr. Jones at a couple of the forums. So it was very nice to meet you. I hope to meet all of you very soon. We did information gathering. I sent out a survey to my staff asking, I said, these were the questions were, what do you want me to know? What are your fears? What are traditions that we need to keep? What are things that could be changed? And what are your greatest wishes? So that's what I keep asking everybody is, what's your wish list? So board members, please make sure you get your wish list. We are now gathering the information and putting them into categories so that we can develop curriculum and choose curriculum for things, how we will staff so that we can best serve all of our students. We want to make sure that our programs, we have a scope and sequence that we can articulate to the board, to the community, to everyone else. We want to coordinate all of our resources. I hate nothing more than waste when I know that there's money that I could use for students and have it spent somewhere else. So I'm always trying to make sure that we start with our students, then we support our staff, and then we work out from there. The community connections. I'm starting to get to know some of the different organizations. I'll be presenting at, I believe, the Eagles and the Kiwanis, and I've been invited to several, and I'm just going to go and get to know everybody and get them to come and help us. I'm working on logistics, transportation. I'm glad to see the safe routes to schools coming by because I have seen some of that in our area. I've also am getting a lot of input from students and parents, and I will continue to have more sessions and surveys that go out and really looking for just what will best serve our students. I also am a big professional development person. I've worked for both Oregon State University and Portland State University in their colleges of education in the areas of data analysis, and instructional strategies and hooks. So I'm really big on making sure that our teachers are looking at data and that we're using the best practices as we go forward. So we'll be looking at professional development with Scott Whitbeck. And as we go along, I'm going, oh, this is something we need to look at. Oh, this is something we need to look at. So as I encounter them, I add them to the list. And we all, of course, are keeping in mind any contract or union ramifications and keeping a close eye on the budget with Kara. So the next steps will be to present cohesive documentation to the superintendent for approval and then on to the board. And then we get going. And right now we are doing some things, but we're going to want to really get going for next year. So hopefully we'll have something to you in April, early April, to look at and give us some feedback on. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions from the board? I guess first off, welcome. We've not met yet, but look forward to meeting you. And it's been great to see kind of all the work you've done in the short amount of time you've been here. And I would just say that I'm excited to kind of see what these additional opportunities that we'll be able to have within our district. I mean, with the bringing in of Riverbend and some of these other elements, it's going to be great. You know, one of the things that has really kind of stood out in my mind as we've navigated this pandemic is that, you know, the one-way style of learning isn't the most conducive. Kids need a variety of different opportunities. And I think the more we can kind of expand upon our offerings, the better off our kiddos are going to be at the end of the day. So I'm super excited for kind of what's to come. And as you collect your information and data, you know, where that leads us will be awesome to see, and the growth that we'll undoubtedly see in the kiddos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions for Dr. Tuskevich? All right.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. We look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Yes.
All right. Our next presentation is from the Columbia Gorge GSD, and it's a presentation of the 2022-2023 local service plan. And Superintendent Sublette will join us to kind of go over that tonight.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me back again this year. The local service plan you see before you is very similar to the one that you saw last year, with the exception, oh goodness, I got the real deal up there. We won't go through the whole thing, I promise. It's rather long. But the local service plan is very similar. I changed the format a little bit this year to make it look a little more professional, I'm hoping. And but the services that we're offering are remaining virtually the same. And so with the exception that we're continuing to bring in grants to the region, and one of the larger areas of change for us this year has been in our health services program. And I believe Dr. Richardson referred to that. And of course, anything we do with that will be in alignment with the school districts that we're serving. So our local service plan, in our local service plan, we are continuing to provide assessments and services for early childhood special education. We have, as you know, 2 preschool classrooms, well, 3 preschool classrooms, but 2 preschools. One is Sunshine Kids, which is a blended funding preschool that is an inclusive preschool now. So in the past, we've had a separate class for students with very severe needs. We no longer do that. We have all students are included with typical peers now in that program. Our other preschool classroom is Sunshine Kids Bilingue at Chenoweth, and we're so proud of that classroom, and it's actually full this year. So that is funded through Preschool Promise dollars, but it was formulated and is a feeder program into the dual language immersion program at Chenoweth. We're continuing to offer technology, school improvement services, just all of the services that you're used to receiving from Columbia Gorge ESD. I'm trying to think about any other new grants that we are offering this year. We're continuing to offer the 21st Century after school program as a grant, and that's up and running, I believe, now at Chenoweth. We've had some trouble getting that staffed, but other than those things, we're continuing to offer the hubs for the region, for regional direction. So that's we have the STEM hub for Rivers Early Learning Hub, and the Regional Educator Network is our latest one, and that's for professional learning across the region. And then next year, we're hoping to offer Medicaid billing to support school districts with Medicaid billing, and then also E-rate services for districts. There's a lot in that document that you're looking at, and I would be happy to entertain any questions or go into gory details about any of our programs, because I'm very proud of all of them, of course. So.
All right, thank you for that, Superintendent Sublette. Any questions, comments from the board? Coupled with this, we do have Resolution 21-22-05 that we'll need to vote on. But any questions for Superintendent Sublette or Dr. Bernal? Anything to add, I guess, from your side on the service plan?
No, but would just say it's been a pleasure working with Pat and on this and collaborating, and we certainly appreciate the support and services of the ESD. So thank you.
I'm so sorry, I forgot one thing. The state has allocated funding that we are running through the local service plan for the student investment account. I brought that, and it's also in this local service plan, our previous agreement on how we were going to support districts with those funds. We're told that we will be revamping our agreement. So I do want to let you know that although I'm asking for your approval tonight, this is the best information I have at this time. If we revamp it, I'll bring it back.
No, thank you for that. That's good to know. Any questions from board members or comments, thoughts? All right, I guess we'll thank you, Superintendent Sublette. I guess for me, the highlight is that bilingual pre-K at Chenoweth. That's awesome. Hopefully some of those kiddos can go right into our DLI strand that we have at that school. That'd be awesome to see. All right, if no further comments or questions, then I will entertain a motion for the adoption of Resolution 21-22-05. Director Nelson.
I move to adopt Resolution 21-22-05, Columbia Gorge GSD Resolution Services and Local Service Plan for 2022 to 2023.
All right, looks like I've got multiple. I think I saw Director Rasmussen, so got motion from Director Nelson to approve and adopt Resolution 21-22-05, the Columbia Gorge GSD Resolution Services and Local Service Plan for the 2022-2023 year, and seconded by Director Rasmussen. Any further discussion from board members? All right, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Director Rasmussen?
Yes. Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Stevens?
Aye.
Director Richardson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So local service plan has been approved. Thank you again, Superintendent Sublette.
Thank you.
All right, our next report comes from Dr. Bernal, our superintendent report.
Good evening, everyone, and I will be brief. Just talk briefly about reopening schools and what we have going on. And so, as many of you know, today they updated the when they'll be dropping the statewide mask requirement, as well as the requirement for universal masking in schools, and they've updated that from March 31st to March 19th. We have got a survey together that we're going to go live tomorrow with our families and staff just to gather their feedback as it relates to universal masking in schools. And we'll utilize that feedback as we plan how school will look when we return from spring break. And we're also waiting. The Oregon Department of Education is collaborating with OHA around things such as quarantine, contact tracing, test to stay, all of those things that we've currently been doing and how those would look post universal masking. And so when we get those updates, then we'll need to update our continuity of in-person learning and services plan, which the updates to that will be due on March 30th, unless they move that up to align with the March 19th date. And then on another note, just to talk about our strategic planning process, we're going to have a community forum next March 1st from 6:30 to 7:30. Members of D21 and the community can either come in person or listen virtually. We'll have both options available. And really the purpose of that meeting is to describe, we'll introduce our facilitator from Public Consulting Group, who will be helping us with the process, and also just to describe and share what strategic planning is, how the process will be rolling out over the course of the next months, what the goals are of strategic planning and why we do it, and how everyone can get involved in providing feedback to North Wasco County School District as we plan for the future, which really is about the next 5 years and developing our roadmap of where we're going. So that's all I have for tonight.
All right, any questions for Dr. Bernal on those updates? All right. Well, thank you for that update. I think the one thing I will just say, on the masking thing, is that, you know, that is one of the many layers that we have in our buildings. And that, you know, even with the masking no longer being required, there's still other elements that we'll have in place in our buildings. So I know folks fall on different sides of the masking debate, but for those that may be, you know, anxious or nervous about that, there will still be other elements of that layering in our buildings to make sure that the kiddos are able to kind of be and remain in our buildings, which was kind of the goal from the onset at the start of the school year. So I did want to just quickly say that. And then we also have an action item, Dr. Bernal, which is a non-resident release and attendance request. So if no further comment, I think we'll roll into that.
Yep, and this is just an annual approval.
Director Nelson, did you have a comment?
No, I don't have a question. No.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Bernal.
Oh, no, I just was going to say this is an annual approval that we bring forward for the board's consideration. And we have to take action on how many slots we will open to both take in and let release from the district. And so we're recommending the same that we brought forward last year, which would be to grant to take in 20 non-resident students and then release 20 students from our district. And so we need that approval by March 1st, and then that way we can notify families no later than May 1st.
All right, thank you for that explanation. Any comments or questions regarding this action item? If not, I will entertain a motion. Go ahead, Director Nelson.
So on the motion, there's two parts. Can that be all made as one motion? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I move to grant consent for up to 20 non-resident students to attend school in the North Wasco County School District starting the 2022-2023 school year, and to grant consent for up to 20 resident students to be released to attend another school district in Oregon starting in the 2022-2023 school year, with the understanding that all consent is subject to district policy and administrative rule.
All right, do we have a second? Director Jones. All right. Just got a motion from Director Nelson to grant consent for up to 20 non-resident students to attend school in the North Wasco County School District starting in 2022-23 school year, and also the consent for up to 20 resident students to be released to attend another school district in Oregon starting in the 2022-2023 school year, with the understanding that all consent is subject to district policy and administrative rule. Any further discussion on that? If not, we'll move right into a vote. I'm not seeing none. So Director Rasmussen?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Let's see, Director Stevens?
Aye.
And Director Richardson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Was there anything else under your report, Dr. Bernal? Nope. Okay.
Nothing more, thank you.
All right. So our next report comes from our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Flath. And quickly, just make sure you're muted. We're getting some background noise if you're not speaking. Go ahead, Ms. Flath.
Hi, how are you? So included in your report, of course, is a standard financial summary and then the backup reports. Just to give you a few highlights, of course, the general fund balance right now is at 8.8 million, which is a good number. Of course, we're happy to see that. Again, property taxes the collection of property taxes has gone up this year, so that's promising. I also included for your information, just I'm trying to include different information in the different months just to give you different tidbits. This next particular one, I just gave you a historical view of what we've spent in particular categories from 2017 to what we're projecting in 2022. And as most people suspect, majority of what school districts spend on average, and we're no different, is on personal services and salaries and benefits for staff. So out of the $35 million general fund budget, we're spending 25 million just for staffing, and that will include your salaries and your benefits, and that's 71%. And so when people talk about the federal funds and the ESSER funds and backfilling that, some of the concerns, of course, is sustainability and trying to keep that going and making sure that Oregon continues to fund schools at the level that includes the ESSER funds, so we can continue with all the current staffing level that we have. So that was just kind of a tidbit for information for you. And as we look towards the projects that are coming up in the future, one of the things I wanted to note, of course, I talk about every time, is the Kurtz Gym project, but I do have good news. I think the heating cooling units are close. We are looking at installing them the week of spring break. However, we added other little projects, so it's probably spring break to early April when that will be completed, which again will put that gym out of commission for a short period of time. And we hope, still waiting on Griffin Construction to get the final schedule together and make sure that the units are actually in our hot little hands. And there's also the windows on the side, and we tease because I think Hood River came over and somebody accidentally broke one of the windows, and I tried convincing them they should buy all new windows for us, but we're already on that track. So that's pretty good. And hopefully I will include a picture, but Chenoweth Elementary, the eating area I talked about, it is complete and it looks really, really nice. As the weather gets better, it definitely opens up seating for that location, but I'll snap a few pictures of that and send it in the next report because I think that's worth talking about. Safe Routes to Schools, Katie and Phil had done a great job of all the work they've done with it. I just wanted to make a note that I think the city and the county, they're the ones that'll apply for construction grants. There is a possibility both of them could apply. However, there does require a match to that grant. So they're looking strategically on how to do that. I think the focus will be primarily in the Chenoweth area. And with all the lack of sidewalks and just all the problems around that location, we're looking at alternatives around Colonel Wright. Particularly up Trevitt is problematic. And last month, well, actually a few weeks ago, we had a traffic safety committee meeting with the city where they were concerned about the backflow on Trevitt. One of the things we're trying is putting orange cones out on Trevitt, trying to deter people from attempting to park on a non-parking street. I don't think it's working. They're just parking outside the cones, making the problem even worse. So we'll keep working at it. The city PD and OS Oregon State Police are trying to commit some resources during those times to patrol the area and flick the lights on and give people warnings and try and get that moving along, short of trying to find a staff person that's dedicated to just standing on there telling parents as they pick up students, you cannot park here. We're trying to get everybody to divert over to 16th Street. So that is still a work in progress, but it is causing that backflow, which I think is probably not the first time that's happened in this community, but we're really working on trying to get that moving. I am looking at the possibility, and as Katie said, I think it's where we would be really competitive, but for the education grant for Safe Routes to Schools, which would be designated for a school coordinator. And still developing what exactly that would encompass, but that would be a really exciting position for us to have. And the first year of that grant is $120,000, so that would more than cover a position plus some materials and education of the community and some other things. So working with Kathy at McKed, she's got a lot of experience in there, so she's going to help me pull together a grant application. We did apply for 2 grants. We applied for a TAP grant for a seismic assessment of Chenoweth. And at the same time, today, I think we submitted our seismic grant application for Chenoweth Elementary to try and do some seismic work at that school. It's kind of trying to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. We need to replace the roof over there because it's leaking. We have a lot of roofs to replace, but that's one we really do need to replace. And Upcoming is the budget committee. I think I'm still looking for one more member. Still soliciting some input. So please, if you're interested in it, let me know. I think that's kind of a quick response to finances. There's nothing else too particular. I included the same reports where you can see what the federal money, and we meet monthly with our union members to talk about ESSER funds. But still, if anybody in the community or anybody in general has questions or feedback they would like, we're always accepting that. So please give me a call or send me an email. Do you have questions about the financial section? That was a really quick version.
Any questions from the board? I did enjoy the historical graph that you shared this month. That was very cool to see visually just how we've been trending since 2017. So
yeah, thank you. And that part of those reports are coming from
the forecast 5.
Yes, I was like, yeah, forecast 5 system, which will be
cool.
Will give us really cool data in the future as well. So I'm excited about that. So I'm pulling different things, and I'll keep including them. If you find one that sticks that you want to see every month, let me know. And to add one quick note that came out today is that it does look like Oregon's going to put some funding into summer learning grants, which would be really exciting because we are actively starting to look at summer projects and of course summer school, but also summer enrichment. The problem with, I'll put a bug in maybe Judy's ear, but the problem with the last year's summer learning grants was the 9 through 12 portion was specifically designated only for credit recovery programs. And I sit on a weekly legislative committee with other business managers, and we've all provided feedback that it would be nice if that would include enrichment programs for 9 through 12, because they also need some of those. And while we do want to focus on credit recovery, and we do focus on that every year, it would be nice to provide some of those enrichment programs. So I didn't see in their press release that was included. So I'm just going to put a bug in anybody's ear who has anybody else's ear that it would be great if we could get that included. That would really open up some opportunities for our high school students. So box over. The enrollment summary, the good news is last month we were at 2,721, and we knew that a 10-day drop that often in the holidays, students exit and then come back. And this month we went up to 2,749. So we have 27 more than we did last month. We're still not up close to what we were in December, which is 2,765. So hopefully that trend continues to move. Policies changing may affect it, good, positive, and negative. So that'll be interesting to see how that comes. The other note, there's a lot of reasons that it ebbs and flows, but the virtual academy last month was 150. This month we're at 166. So we'll continue to probably see that trend move around. And I think students are exiting a little more to that program than leaving it. But as we get into the third trimester as well, they need to stay in whatever program they're starting in. So that's kind of the short of that. So enrollment continues, and just to keep a note, we budgeted at 2,840, but as we know, enrollment across the state is down, so that affects our state school fund, but it will affect all of state school funds. So maybe proportionally it won't be as much. But any questions on that I can help with?
Anyone have any questions? No, and I guess we'll gear up for our budget committee meetings that are quickly going to be upon us. So we'll see more of you, Ms. Flatt. All right. Let's see. Our next report and last report tonight is our board attorney report. Do you have anything for us, Mr. Corey?
I do not.
All right. So with that concludes our report section, and watching the time, it's 8:06. Just wanted to check in with board members. Anyone need a 5-minute break, or do you want to kind of continue on with our agenda? Director Nelson?
I would like a 5-minute break.
Okay, cool. Let's see, it's 8:07. So let's try and be back at 8:12, and we'll resume with the rest of the agenda.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Judy.
Thank you. As Cara was finishing up, I was reminded that there's significant funding in the legislature now, and there's two projects that our representatives are looking at. One is grants for workforce retention for good keeping teachers in our schools. So they're looking at adding money there, as well as some protection against that statewide loss in enrollment, whether it's increasing the ADM or it's looking at like some sort of business recovery model for this 2-year pandemic window. Both of those things are on the table. So hopefully we'll see the benefit of those.
Yeah. Hoping they can just freeze the ADM or something for a time period. All right. Let's see, Robbie, let me know when we're back on and we'll continue on.
You are good to go.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, from our brief pause. Next on our agenda is our discussion and action items, starting with the appointment of 2 D21 board members to the ESD budget committee. And so currently we have 2 positions that are expiring or expired, I guess, in June of 21. That was Director Nelson and Director Richardson. So tonight we need to appoint 2 board members to the Columbia Gorge ESD's budget committee. And it's for a term of 3 years. The other board member that is on that is Director Jones. And he is, his term expires in June of 23. So still coming up. But Director Richardson, Director Nelson, did you guys want to continue, or would you like to have others take those ESD budget committees roles?
I appreciated the opportunity to serve on the budget committee and learned a lot as a new board member, and would not want to, prevent one of my fellow board members from having the same learning opportunity, like maybe Brian Stevens.
Director Nelson, did you want to continue, or were you wanting to give your spot up for another board member?
I will, unless another board member wants to do that, since I've been on it several years already. But I'll do that if nobody steps up.
Okay. Director Rasmussen, Jones, or Stevens, any interest in wanting to be on the budget committee for the ESD?
I'm on a little pressure there from Judy.
I'll take one of the spots. I'm up for the budget committee.
I would ask how often do they meet and how much time does it take? Just because I'm already on 2 committees, and I wouldn't mind getting on that one too, but just want to know what I'm getting into first.
Well, Brian, last year it was quick, very well organized, and it went pretty fast.
It's basically 1 meeting a year, unless things don't get approved, but they usually do. I've never had any other experience but 1 meeting.
I think Superintendent Sublette joined us again, so I don't know if you want to say anything in regards to kind of expectations and, I guess, commitment for being on the ESD's budget committee.
Other than, I was just going to also say it's typically 1 meeting. We try to be quite organized, and and of course we would meet more often than that if we needed to, but it's always been 1 meeting in my experience, and my understanding is the history as well.
And when is that meeting held? What month?
In April, I believe, and I'm sorry, we just approved the budget meetings at our last board meeting, and I don't have that date in front of me.
Okay. Any other questions, Director Stevens?
No.
All right. Director Jones, did you have interest, or no, you're already on it, so it's really, so I'm willing to be on it. And Director Stevens, any strong desire? If not, it sounds like Director Nelson is more than willing to continue on being on the budget committee.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. I don't think we need to have an official vote. I think I can just appoint to that. So with that, then we'll appoint Director Nelson for a 3-year term on the ESD's budget committee, and then myself is included for the same ESD budget committee for a term of 3 years. All right, thank you everyone for that. Next, we have approval and adoption of resolution 2122-06, which is a capital project funds, and we have Ms. Flath back with us.
Hi, this particular one, I'm not sure that we necessarily need this resolution because we will go through the budget process and in the budget adoption process, but I still want this on record and just very clear. Would like to adopt a capital projects fund, and this is something board chair and I have talked about early on, and some other school districts do use the construction excise tax, which historically ours in the last few years has ranged from as much as 120,000 to 35,000. So it varies quite a bit. We're also discussing in a facilities work group the policy for facilities use and some items in there that may also contribute to this. And it also allows under statutory authority general fund transfers. So between those two, I think it's important for us to start building up some repairs budget in the long term. So I am just requesting authorization to open a capital projects fund, which is a Fund 401.
Thanks for that brief explanation. Any questions for Ms. Flath on the request for tonight? And I guess I will just add this kind of in the big picture, like she was saying, is going to set us up for having an actual dedicated deferred maintenance fund. And so as things come up, that are needed at our various buildings, we'll have a fund to be able to pull money from and plan for things moving forward. So
how would you put that money in? In other words, would you budget for that to put money in that account, or would you just do it because something came up and you had to put some money there? How's that?
Yeah, what I would recommend is every year we put the money that we collect from the construction excise tax, which then again does decrease what we collect in our general fund, which, like I said, could be from 35,000 to 120,000, depending on construction projects. And we could also budget in general fund transfers, but my recommendation is to use it as a reserve fund. So similar that we do curriculum adoption or bus replacements, we transfer funds in there every year and then they accumulate. And as we have needs that come up, we have funding to do that and we're able to do that.
That makes sense. Okay.
any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion. Director Rasmussen?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 21-22-06, a resolution authorizing new fund capital projects fund.
All right, do I have seconded by Director Jones? So we've got a motion by Director Rasmussen to approve and adopt resolution 21-22-06, the capital project funds, seconded by Director Jones. Any further discussion or questions? If not, we'll move right into a vote. Director Rasmussen?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Stevens?
Aye.
Director Richardson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So that resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Ms. Flath. Our next action item is an exciting one, I think. It's an out-of-state travel request. And I'll have Mr. Evans join us and explain what the request is for.
This, it is exciting. I mean, BattleBots is a primetime episode on TV. So this is for the robotics tournament. And I don't have to have my camera on, but if you want to see me, I could have it on, Cindy. but it's disabling. My video is disabled. But anyway, yeah, this is an out-of-state travel request for the robotics team here. There's 2 robotics teams here that are asking to travel to Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is actually right next to Omaha, Nebraska. And all the funds have been fundraised. There really isn't too much involved with district funding, a little bit for subcost, but most of it, all the airfare and lodging is all fundraised money. Chuck Weber is our robotics instructor advisor here at the Dallas High School. And then Lou Seepy, she works for OSU. She'll be attending as well as chaperones. There'll be about 7 kids that'll attend, or they're asking to attend. And they will miss more than 2 days of school as the policy states. So it looks like they'll be leaving on the 27th. So it'll be about 4 days of school that they'll miss. So anyway, I supported going, and it's you know, it's not a sanctioned sport, but it is as popular as any of our other sports. And we fund our program well through Measure 98 money. And I feel bad. I've never actually, on the tours that you've come to the high school, I've never actually brought you down to room 402, but we have a whole room. It's too small to be a classroom, but it's an entire room that's dedicated to robotics. So next time any of the board members and superintendent are in the building, I'll take you guys down there and try to coordinate it with Mr. Weber's prep period or something, and I'm happy to show you that space. So yeah, so the robotics team requesting out-of-state travel to Council Bluffs, Iowa, leaving March 27th, returning March 31st. And that does require board approval for that.
All right, thank you for that explanation. Any questions or comments from the board on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve this out-of-state travel request. Director Richardson?
I would like to make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel request as articulated by Principal Evans.
All right, do I have a second? Director
I'll
Jones?
second that.
All right, so got a motion to approve the out-of-state travel request as presented by Principal Evans and seconded by Director Jones. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move right into the vote. Director Rasmussen?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Stevens?
Aye.
Director Richardson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well.
I really hope they get a police escort like our sports teams do.
That would be kind of fun.
Very, very easily be arranged.
I think we should definitely.
And Cindy told me that the videos, there's some glitch in the program. She's not intentionally leaving me blank here. So not.
All right.
No one's fault.
Well, good luck to the teams traveling. Good luck. Hopefully we are having to approve a out-of-state request if you guys make it to Worlds. So good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. That wraps up our action items for tonight. Leads us into first readings on school board policies, starting with board policy GBL, and that's personnel records. And this policy was updated to reflect and clarify current Oregon revised statute language. Any questions or comment from the board on those updates on this policy? All right. If not, then we'll see it for a second reading in our March meeting. The next policy we have is board policy IGBB, the talented and gifted programs. Senate Bill 486 passed by the 2021 legislature amends ORS 343.397 by adding a requirement that each talented and gifted student and students' parents have the opportunity to discuss with the district the programs and services available to the student and to provide input on the programs and services to be made available. It also adds a requirement for the plan to include the name and contact information for the district's coordinator of special education services and programs for talented and gifted students. Any questions on the language updates for this one? Okay. Then we'll see this one for a second reading as well next month. Next, we have board policy DH, which is loss coverage. This policy was updated with language to reflect current terms and practices. Any comments or questions surrounding the language update on this one? Okay. So that will move to second reading next month. Next is board policy EEAB, school bus scheduling and routing. And so this is one that will actually rescind as it's becoming administrative rules or an AR instead. So this policy is going to get recoded, as I mentioned, to EEA-AR and is now an administrative regulation to policy EEA, student transportation services. So it is necessary to take action to rescind policy EEAB and resubmit the revision as EEA-AR as an information item. And so in order to do this, we have to kind of follow the appropriate process to allow for consideration, comments, questions, and recommendations prior to the second reading and or adoption. So what we'll see at our second reading is that we'll also have the newly AR that will replace this. So if we adopt it at March, this policy goes away. The AR will then go into effect for the school bus scheduling and routing in our district. So any questions, or this one's a different kind of type that we have seen. So, but any questions or clarification on that?
So all we have is the AR, we won't have a policy like this. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So this policy will go away once adopted, and then it'll live as an AR moving forward.
But then the language on this would substantially change, correct? Or not?
So we'll see both in March.
Okay.
So we're able to kind of compare and contrast and make sure that the AR is reflective of the policy and vice versa.
Okay.
Any other questions surrounding EEAB? Okay. All right, that wraps up first readings for tonight. And for second reading, we have board policy JFC. This is a student conduct policy. Districts have multiple procedures to handle various types of complaints. These procedures prohibit retaliation for good faith reports. However, districts can also prohibit knowingly making false reports or knowingly providing false information as part of an investigation. Any questions or comments on these updates for this one? If not, we'll move into a vote for its adoption. All right, now seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a
motion.
Oh, sorry. I'll make a motion to adopt board policy JFC student conduct as presented.
I'll
Do I have a second? Director Richardson. All right. So you got a motion by Director Rasmussen to approve board policy JFC student conduct, and seconded by Director Richardson. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, then we'll move right into a vote. Director Rasmussen.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Nelson.
Aye.
Director Stevens.
Aye.
Director Richardson.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Our next policy is board policy JFCF, the hazing, harassment, intimidation, bullying, and menacing, cyberbullying, teen dating violence, or domestic violence for students. House Bill 2631, passed by the 2021 legislature, added requirements to notify parents or guardians of a student who was a subject of an act of harassment, intimidation, bullying, or cyberbullying, and the parents or guardians of a student who may have conducted an act of harassment, intimidation, bullying, or cyberbullying. House Bill 3041 also passed and revised the statutory definition of sexual orientation and added a new term defining gender identity in Oregon affecting protected classes. So again, the updated language. Is there any further questions, clarifications, or discussion on this one? If not, I will entertain a motion then for its adoption. Director Richardson?
I move to adopt board policy JFCF, hazing, harassment, intimidation, bullying, menacing, cyberbullying, teen dating violence, or domestic violence regarding students.
All right.
I'll second it.
All right, Director Stevens with the second. All right. So we've got a motion by Director Richardson to approve policy JFCF, hazing, harassment, intimidation, bullying, menacing, cyberbullying, teen dating violence, or domestic violence for students, seconded by Director Stevens. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move into a vote. Not seeing none. So Director Rasmussen?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Stevens?
Aye.
Director Richardson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. All right. Next is some updates to a few ARs. First is board policy GCBDA/GDBDA AR1. It's a family leave. House Bill 2474 passed by the 2021 legislature modifies family leave, establishing eligibility for employees if they separate, are eligible, and are reemployed within 180 days, or because of a temporary cessation of scheduled hours. The bill also allows for restoration of time worked after separation and reemployment under certain circumstances, and allows employers to request verification of child care need. Any questions regarding this updated AR? Okay. The next AR is board policy IGBAF AR, special education, individualized education program. House Bill 3183 passed in the 2021 legislative session, requires districts to provide information at the individualized education program meeting about relevant services and placements offered by the district, the ESD, regional programs, and the Oregon School of the Deaf. House Bill 2105 passed in the 2021 legislative session, requires districts to provide information and resources to students of transition age regarding supported decision-making as a less restrictive alternative to guardianship, and with information and resources regarding strategies to remain engaged in the student's secondary education and post-school outcomes. In October 2021, the State Board of Education amended Oregon Administrative Rule 581-015-2200, content of IEP, to include an IEP meeting when the student is 16 years of age or as early as 14 years of age if transition services is part of the IEP discussion. Any questions, comments regarding this updated AR? Okay.
This is a time to mention a typo.
Yes, please. That way we can get it corrected.
Okay, it's under, let's see here. I'm trying to get to the right, under 7, number 7D. And it says, in addition to the above IEP contents, the IEP for each eligible student of transition age includes, and then it's yellow highlighted on the next line under D, item 1, and it says, or as Erie, and it should be early as 14 or younger. Thank you.
Did you capture that, Cindy? Okay. Cool. All right. And our last AR is board policy IGBAG AR, special education and procedural safeguards. House Bill 3183 passed in the 2021 legislative session, requires districts to provide information at the Individualized Education Program meeting about relevant services and placements offered by the district, the ESD, regional programs, and the Oregon School of the Deaf. House Bill 2105 passed in the 2021 legislative session requires districts to provide information and resources to students of transition age regarding supported decision-making as a less restrictive alternative to guardianship, and with information and resources regarding strategies to remain engaged in the student's secondary education and post-school outcomes. In October 2021, the State Board of Education amended Oregon Administrative Rule 581-015-2200, content of IEP to include an IEP meeting when the student is 16 years of age or as early as 14 years of age, if transition services is part of the IEP discussion. Any clarifications or questions regarding this updated AR? Kind of goes in tandem with the prior one. All right, I'm not seeing none. And that wraps up our AR updates. With that, leads us to the end of our agenda for the night. So we'll adjourn this meeting. Everyone enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you next month.